There we go.
Okay.
Test. Can you hear us more clearly now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
Awesome. Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this with us, scientists. We really appreciate it.
Yes, yes, I'm glad to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So we've been doing a bunch of podcast shows this summer, kind of focusing on our favorite roots reggae albums from the late '70s, early '80s, kind of a period that you were really involved in. So the most recent episode we did was on Firehouse Rock by Wailing Souls, which
Yes, I mixed that record.
So, one of the things that we're really interested in is sort of like the technical aspect of the way that those records of that sort of group of the group of records were made. You know, like so that one, like Gunman, Michael Prophet, like Hugh Mundell, like. There seems to be sort of a group of records that sort of had the same personnel, same recording studio, same backing band, like almost seeming like there was a group that had the same production process. And so first of all, first question, is that true? Was there actually that period of time for a few years where all those records kind of did follow the same production line, or does it just seem that way and that's not actually how it was?
That's actually how it works, because I developed a certain technique how to mix,
Mm-hmm.
which followed me to the United States, which I demonstrated lots of time on stage and with Brian Wallace and in the studio.
And so did you at any point, so during when those records were made, you were the mix engineer only, correct? So someone else was the tracking engineer?
Yes.
Was for that group of albums, were they all tracked by the same engineer or different ones?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so were you ever there? Were you ever present, like during the tracking sessions at Channel One, or no?
Not at that time, as I remember.
Hmm.
I only mixed it.
and were you mainly mixing out of Tubby's at that time too?
Yeah, because Tubby's facility was not set up to record a band. It was only set up
Right.
just for voiceover and mixing.
Right. What were some of the were there any challenges or limitations taking something that was tracked at Channel One and then mixing it at Tubby's? What were some of the challenges you faced from doing that?
Well, Channel One at the time was the better studio versus if something was coming from like Music Mountain or elsewhere, it would have very poor quality. But even when I was tracking or mixing the stuff at Tubby's, I heard drawback.
Hmm.
I hear drawbacks within the recording,
What
and
what sorts of drawbacks?
well, technical drawbacks. The compositions remain excellent, but the technical drawback where they were using gates and there wasn't you they didn't know how to utilize the bleed.
Mm.
For example, the snare drum bleeding and the kick drum mic. When you listen to it, you can hear like almost there is no bleed, and vice versa. So when, for example, Carly Bob Marley song, I know when Carly roll on the drum roll, those who know when an instrument is gated too much, what it sound like
Mm.
it's cutting off the ring.
Mm.
So I heard some of that, and I pretty much knew what the cause was. So when I joined Channel One later, I expanded on that technique and helped to highlight how to do it and use the bleeds.
So for that entire group of records that we mentioned, including Firehouse Rock, this was during the time when all the drum tracks would come through with no bleed. Everything is gated too much. Is that correct?
Well, they wasn't using the bleed. They didn't know how to manage the bleeds
Wow.
because it was taught, and even I at one time believed that um, that's what you should have done. Only to find out it ended up sounding like a drum machine, and the drum is not bleeding.
Mm. Yeah, it didn't
Breathe.
sound like a natural kit anymore.
Yeah, it just sounded like like boop, bop, boop, bop. You
Yeah.
know. Then
Yeah.
when the drummer play some goat's note, you barely hear the goat's notes as the
Mm.
drummer playing. So I had in because I'm an electronic engineer, I had an idea what was causing it. So
Yeah.
it had that drawback. It had that drawback, and but
Yeah.
the compositions were good. The musical compositions were good. It's just that some of the technical drawbacks that needed to be enhanced, and there's many other records that came out after that time that demonstrated what I'm talking about now.
Absolutely. It's really apparent, when you point it out, because I mean, one of the things that is really that people really take note of and talk about a lot of that drum sound is how isolated each the kick, the snare, how the toms, like that isolation. And so I think that a lot of us have assumed that that decision was made in the mix process rather than in the tracking process.
No, 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 no. That decision could be made in the mix because the way it was four track recording. So all the drums on one track, all the rhythm section on one track. And if we want to add like Dean Fraser, we'd have to transfer from four track to four track and tie the drum and bass to get one extra track for horns. So a bit of it was miking technique that I went down there and showed and highlighted people how to do. Part of it was learning how to use the natural bleed of the instrument. Part of it was, and me and Brian witnessed me and a lot of guitarists go through this all the time because they think there's something magical and they're getting some special tone from their guitar amplifier. And
Right.
I went down there and changed that where I started recording the guitars directly. And then one of the technique that I develop is that when the only person in the in the studio room is the drummer, but everybody else is in a control room in which Brian witnessed me recorded numerous bands like that. So
Yeah.
that way, if a musician is playing too soft, I starve him. Yeah, I don't let him hear himself too loud and
Mm-hmm.
forces him to play louder. And if he's playing too loud and not playing with the right dynamics, then I make him hear himself a little louder so he don't hit as much. And the same technique with bass players. When bass players not hearing themselves too much, they intend to pluck the strings, and you can hear the strings hitting against the fret or the hitting against the body of the bass. You know what I'm talking about, Brian,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you do with that technique is to force him, let him hear himself louder. And the same thing for background vocals. If we're using one mic to pick up three people and we have independent sends for them headphone, then the one that is singing too soft, we turn them down so it forces them to sing higher, and the one that is singing too high, then we do the opposite.
Right.
We turn up more in his headphone, so it forces him to sing softer.
That's some good musician psychology.
And the magic actually of that is that everyone comes into balance, but also when they're in balance, now they sing in tune.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're listening to each other more. And these are all things you brought to Channel 1 once you moved there and kind of showed them some more sophisticated techniques on like how to how to work with other musicians in the studio.
Yeah, yes, because but it was hell because when somebody have some bad learned behavior and they get hits with the bad learned behavior, then it's hard to break them out. So what
Mm.
ended up happening, Mr. Nobody, who nobody knows, or doesn't have a big name. The only thing they want to do is to record and go home.
Mm.
And
Right. The way that they've been doing it every day for years and years. The
yeah,
same way. Yeah.
it's hard to get them out of it. So
Well, and also I should mention too, like, well, tell us how old you were at that time.
Yeah.
yeah, I was in my early 20s because I started my career like at 16. I spent a few years in between Studio One and Tubby's. So by the time I reached Channel One, what 83 something like that, I was in my 20s. But to what I'm saying, so Mr. Nobody Band, who nobody knows, they only want to record. They only want to record. So they would be willing to take the technical recommendation. So if I said to the drummer, um, I want you to do this with a mic, no problem, just do it. And so when the big name musicians hearing that these little no name musicians having bigger, fatter, better bass, better everything, then after a while, they're willing to do it. They're willing to try anything and come out of the bad behavior, the bad learned behavior. So I personally had was to fight that battle, and come now. Well, I see everybody picking up the habit now. I think it was you, some of that link, Brian, where somebody, oh well, no guitar amplifier. Well, I've been talking that for generations, for a
Yeah.
long time. No guitar amplifier on stage, and some musician is like he taking the baby from his mother's breast because they've been taught to believe that the guitar amplifier is giving them some special tones. Nah, it's not. The only thing it do is cause more problems because some guitarists have a problem of turning up them guitar too loud. So you at
Yes.
front of house at that short distance, like say the dub club, you can't tell the real accurate tone what's coming from off stage's guitar amplifier from what coming through the PA system, and
Yeah.
then it gets in all the different mics.
Yeah.
When you compare the mixes that you're doing during this time, like 81 and around there, and you compare those to the mixes that other engineers are doing, there's a clear difference, obviously. And still to this day, you're still traveling around the world demonstrating the ways in which you mix that other people don't. But what specific methods, in what way did your workflow, did your technique, your gear differ from the other mix engineers in Kingston at that time? What my question is, what were the other people doing, and how? You know what I mean?
Or what were they
how did yours different? Yeah, or what were they not doing?
Yeah, what were they not doing that you were doing?
Well, look at it. Let's do it this way. Analogy, right?
Okay.
So you in the same kitchen with Mr. Chin, he shows you all the ingredients, right? And when you try to cook the Chinese food, you never get it to come out like him.
Yeah.
That's just his personal touch. No one can. I can show you everything, but I can't teach you how to hear. Right? I can't teach you how to imagine.
Right.
Anything that, like, if you draw a picture, every invention started from inside of your brain first. Right. So I can show you, and people used to watch over my shoulder, but I can't teach you how to hear.
Yeah.
It's like what might taste salty to you or too spicy to you might be normal for someone else. So a big part of it is ear. The other part of it is knowing how to manipulate the console, and knowing the technical, because I'm also an electronic engineer, is knowing how it really works to manipulate. Like, for example, Um, red light, oh God, red light, oh no, it's clipping, 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 clipping. All right. So it's like a gas tank. When your gas tank say empty, you have at least 50 miles you can drive to find a gas station to refill. So what we do in electronics is warn them off real early, right? Because if your gas tank come on at empty, right when the light come on, then it's finished.
It's too late. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We calibrate the meters to warn them off real early.
Huh.
So if you get a little blimp for less than a second, your ears can't tell that.
I like that philosophy on clipping. I agree with you actually on that, especially with the old analog gear that you had. Like a lot of times, stuff that went in the red, it actually kind of sounded good. It sounded warm and it rounds off the top a little bit. It's like a totally different kind of clipping back then.
This is what depends on the console that you're working on. For example, if you're working on like a Mackie console or a console that uses a plus and minus volt power supply, right? With that adds up to 30 volts. You find the voltage swing. You can't put 15 volts into the input before you start. Anything over 15 volts at the input, like coming your microphone preamp or coming through, it's going to start to clip because you see a voltage swing is limited to how much the power supply rail. So you can put say 20 volts into the input of that op amp before it starts to clip because your power supply, or say your power supply is only limited to X, but like on a Neve or API, you have a larger voltage swing of 24 volts, where the VU only showing you plus or minus 3. Right, so even when you're hitting the red at plus and minus 3, I don't remember what the calculation is at plus and minus 3. I know that 0 dB is 0.775 volt or 775 millivolts. All right, so you can push the console more. So even when you see doing the bass, and I learned that, and you see the bass when you play certain notes or like the lower string, you see it start to register and hit the plus 3 a little bit. That's fine. Or like when the guitarist accent or a solo instrument with take a solo and periodically hit the red. That's fine. It's not living there. Then again, it depends on the console because with a Neve, you could bury the needles and it's still no distortion because why? The power supply rail of the console.
What about what about Tubby's MCI board that you had to mix on for such a long time? What did that have any kind of particular quirks like what you're talking about?
Yeah, was it unique in some way?
Yeah. Do you remember how you had that board routed for effects when you were mixing stuff like Firehouse Rock? Like how did you?
Yeah, well, again, what made that board unique? It was a high pass filter. It was pretty primitive to a lot of ways, to like API. Because it was a what? So I think it was a second order EQ. You couldn't boost no more than plus and minus. Our first order, I don't quite remember, but your boost and cut rate was about -6, something like that. Plus and -6. I think that's first order, and then you couldn't change the frequency response of the lows. It's fixed, so the only frequency response you could change is the highs.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it was very primitive in that thing. What make it kind of exceptional is we end up me and Brian calling Squawky the high pass, and then because both of us was engineered, we know how to actually what to do, how to do what to get it. So okay, this even though this is saying distortion in the red, let's calibrate the meters. So when you go push it, we have an oscilloscope set up with 2 traces, one going in and one monitoring the input and one monitoring the output. So we would push the console, push the console, push the console, and watching the oscilloscope. And when we see the one of the output trays start to square off, then we would calibrate the meter for true. Anytime we see go past that, we know it's true red.
Hmm.
It's true distortion, and not, and then we can't force it anymore. So that's one of the things we end up doing. And I made that suggestion at the top. Is it sound crazy to him at the time? But okay, let's get out instruments, the test
Hmm.
instruments. Let's try it. Okay, so yeah, this good. So it forces us now to put more on the tape,
Hmm.
right? Because everybody was 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Well, in fact, with this console here have a 40, because I thought discrete, a 48 volts power supply, and we can put way more through it, signal through it,
Mm.
than what the manufacturer suggested, the 0 dB, 0 dB. So far, we're going up on the input up to 10 volts on the input and still low clipping. But if we had allowed the VU meter with their calibration showing 0, and everybody, oh, 0, 0, that's no.
Yeah.
And
There it is, kids. It's all about the power supply.
Yeah.
That's the
the power
secret.
supply, yes, the power
Yeah.
supply dictates how much the maximum input level you can run through the up amp.
Hmm.
Wow.
Do you remember how? I had a question for you. How were things sent to the big knob on that MCI board? Was that big knob on like a mix bus, or was it like on almost like a something you could just send to? Or I was always
Yeah, we send whatever send we want to send to an auxiliary set.
gotcha. I see. So it was pretty
And
simple. You could just send stuff to it. It wasn't just sitting at the end of
Yeah,
okay.
but
but
was it like before or after a spring in line with
Mm.
a spring reverb or?
it was a spring reverb, but we could set up where on the auxiliary send whatever we want to send. If we want to send the guitar, if we want to send the reverb through it, we could send it.
Yeah, because one of our favorite things that you do on the mix of Firehouse Rock is uh, it sounds like you're just constantly dancing around and playing with the spring reverb by filtering it. And to my ears, it sounds like you're filtering it with that big knob. That's one of my favorite things about this mix is how creative you got with the reverb on it.
Yes. Back them time there, people think I was smoking too much weed.
So
I think
was
it was
so
just the right amount. It sounds
it-
great.
so
But
it's an
guess what? By them time there again, because again, people learned a lot of bad behavior and what sounded normal to them, quote unquote. A bunch of people say, "Oh no, that's crazy. That's not funny." Hey, they did it with the Beatles. They did it with just about all the great artists that
Mm.
never fit into the quote unquote now thing. They all say, "Oh, the Beatles can't sing. These guys ain't ready." They did it with Shaggy, and they even did it with Bob Marley. So I'm just one of the, oh, that goes on. We don't sure about that. Too
Mm.
much experiment. And then when it left Jamaica and got to the UK, people was like, wow, what is this? But for the beginning, people thought all that was crazy, smoking too much weed, too much experiment, and blah blah blah, all the nonsense of that in here. Luckily that I know not to listen to that.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of digital. When I hear what a Firehouse Rock, of course, it have some good creativity about it. But again, I could hear the drawbacks that I
Mm.
wish that digital technology was around those days.
wow.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, it was an aux send to the filter, and then to the spring, then return,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
send to spring, then the filter after.
They sent to the big now.
Okay.
Wow.
Got it. Nice.
Wow.
And then you mentioned something, and we're getting close to how much time you have for us, but you mentioned something.
A little longer because the time fly past.
Okay. Thank
It
you.
does.
Thanks,
Time
scientist.
flies. Yeah.
We
I-
appreciate it.
Yeah, we can go.
You
Okay,
just let us know.
Yeah. But you mentioned earlier that you had the sessions from Channel One in 4 tracks. So does that mean that when they delivered Firehouse Rock to you to mix, they gave you 4 tracks, or they
Yeah,
gave you 16 to mix
no,
with?
didn't have 16 track at Tubby. We only had a 4-track machine.
Right.
Okay, so at Channel One they track with 16 channels,
No,
then
well, it
go to
might have
4 for the mix session.
it might have 16 input channel, like you have the drums, which would be kick, snare,
Ah,
yeah, tom tom, but the drums are all grouped down to
I
one
see.
channel.
I see.
If you have the rhythm section, then there would be piano, organ, and
I
all the
see.
rhythm section would be on one track.
So those
16 inputs to
to
4
4.
tracks of tape.
Yeah.
Yes, the 4 tracks at tape,
I
and
see.
then they would only leave one track open, 3 tracks at tape, because they would leave one track open for the vocals.
Mm.
Hmm.
Wow.
Do you know, by the way, those sessions, was it the standard? Because I know some records were produced in a way where the band and the rhythm section and all the instrumentalists record in their one session, and then after there's a vocal session. Do you know if Firehouse Rock and these records were the vocals tracked along with
No,
the music, or it's always a separate vocal
it's
tracking
always,
session?
always a second, because here's why, and Brian's seen this before.
Okay.
If you try to, yeah, they have a pilot vocal to guide the musician, but
Mm.
if you have the drum and everybody in the same room and trying to cut vocal at the same time, then the amount of bleed that going to be coming through the vocal mic.
Right, because Channel 1 was just one big room, right? It didn't have like any booths or anything
A
like
vocal
that,
booth.
did it?
No, but even with vocal booth, unless it's a vault where
Right.
it's very solid concrete from the ceiling to everywhere that you can just block out the sound.
Right. Right.
That's the only thing it would lock out the sound. You'd have to have thick blocks to completely isolate the sound. It was like that.
Yeah.
We allow them to do a pilot track to guide the musicians, and then after it would be a second session, so we're not hearing all the disturbances that would be going on with the musician bleeding in the microphone for the vocals. So it's always a second session. That
And
most
you.
most
Oh,
of most
sorry.
of the vocal sessions that the producers always come by Tubby's to track it. Waterhouse Rock the vocals was tracked over there at Tubby's.
Mm.
Oh, the vocals were tracked at Tubby's, not at Channel One.
Yeah, not at Channel One.
Oh.
99% of the time.
So all those other, like the Michael Prophet, Hugh Mundell,
Track
all these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
vocal,
Wow.
vocal doesn't work.
And
Learn
that
something
kind
new.
of that kind of rubbed a lot of other studios the wrong way, right? That Tubby was getting so much of that kind of business.
Well, in every business, 'cause what I learned later is when I started working at Channel One, they weren't interested in calibrating the 4-track machine and upkeeping it, maintaining it, because all that work would leave and go around by Tubby. So to keep it in house, okay, who cares if the alignment is off?
Mm.
Well, I care because um, some people come, they didn't have the money at the time to buy a 16-track reel, and they could only afford to work on 4-track. I care because if that work with the higher, and when that azimuth is off, then it go to throw off the hi-hat. So anything that like hi-hat, bell, tambourine, it's going to sound dull and muffled when the azimuth is off. So
Mm.
our tape bias is off. So for me, hey, this have to get fixed.
Mm.
This have to get fixed. And, but I found out later that the motivation for doing it that way is that by the time it reach around there, yeah, the quality going to be compromised.
Mm.
So for those who couldn't afford that 16 track at the time, I insist, hey, let's calibrate the machines, let's do the bias, let's do the azimuth, and let's do the standard thing like we're supposed to do. So by the time the customer leave out, he getting the best, and it paid off because he just returning customers.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
But I'm a big fan of digital now.
Yeah.
Because with digital you don't have to worry about none of that nonsense. You
That's
come
right.
here
I'm
and you
sure.
just
I'm sure
do
it's
it.
weird for you. I've heard this with other engineers as well, that who grew up with analog and tape and all this kind of thing, and then there's this seemed like a lot of younger engineers like Brandon and I. We have a very special affinity for analog
Yeah,
and
everybody
all that
wants it to
stuff.
be more analog.
Yeah, but
we
I've
think
heard
it's
this
better.
I've
Yeah.
heard it time and time again with engineers who actually came up during the time of analog, that they basically couldn't wait to get rid of it. That digital was like the greatest thing that ever happened.
It is, because here's why. When you record digitally, it remains one generation the whole way through.
Mm.
Doesn't care what kind of tape machine, doesn't care how much money it costs, doesn't care who aligned the tape machine, that you could have the best alignment on the heads, the azimuth and the zenith, the properly biased. The moment you hit tape, it's a second generation. Then
Mm.
all mechanical devices such as record players, tape machines, cassette players, they have this built-in flaw that we try to get to a minimal, named wah-one flutter.
Mm.
And that is the tape machine. You might find you start out that from the beginning, and then by the time you reach halfway inside the tape machine, because when the checkup reads start to fall, you find that it start to develop that jitter. When you look at it at like 16K, you see the VU dancing, can't stand up. 1K and below, you will get a straight needle not move. But when the azimuth off and bow and flutter is bad, then you will see the 16K fine course azimuth set start dancing. Right, with digital, you don't have that problem. With
Mm.
digital, you don't have to worry about, well, then, remember, first time they usually put test tones and tips. So when you go to the next student, next engineer, try to align their head so you get back everything. You never ever gonna get it back, because by the time you hit the tape, it's a second generation. By the time you mix it down to the two track again, that is two generation down. And by the time you cut the stamper till it reach on the vinyl, it's about fourth generation down. And so those are the technical maths that know that people can't argue about. People go, oh well, analog sounds warmer. That's nonsense.
Mm.
That's nonsense. What I get to find out that people associated warmer is I did two recordings, two exact same recordings, right? But one of them, what the tape machine would have done naturally is to lose some of the high frequency and bump up the bass. So I did that, and you went to all the gurus. Which one is analog? And they all pointing to the one that were purposely take away like the 16K and
Mhm.
bump up. That's the analog. It sound warmer. So what I get to find out, they associate dull sound with warmness,
That's
where
amazing.
Yeah.
the tape machine are producing 16K, and that's where all the tambourines, your hi-hats, and all of that going to be.
Mm.
Yeah, so digital is here to stay, and especially digital consoles, they're not going anywhere. They're going to just get better, because look on the amount of things that you can do with a digital console versus an analog. Like even Daniel, the Behringer there that you
Yeah.
Mm.
right, each channel have its own gate to compress all the
Yep.
dynamics.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't have to have all this patch cord. And anytime I remember hearing a home is anytime you plug in a external device. Like
Right.
ever then you're well, I couldn't tell last time I heard that unless I plug in one of that. So it's all these technical things.
Yeah.
Why digital is here to stay, not going anywhere, just go get better. And then the thing about it is that makes it good is, well, API circuitry is a different circuitry from a Neve, and everybody using their own circuit. So one of them might end up sounding a little better. But with digital, the function, like to turn on the EQ or how you get here to there, might be different, but the sound is pretty consistent.
Mm.
It's not like the analog days where, and then capacitor. I see they have this nonsense goes on here in America. Leave on the equipment 24/7 because somebody fooled them, and because most people don't know anything for themselves. Leave on the equipment 24/7, never switch it off for the best result. That is nonsense.
Yeah, I always thought that was crazy.
Yeah, but look on the logic of it. The same, well, you have military grade components, right? But for the most part, about it, they mean it can take extreme heat and extreme cold without the component losing its tolerance, right? So if you can switch off a $50 million fighter jet, the same parts basically is not no big great difference. Is the same electronic, same transistors, whatever, same resistance. If you can switch off that, why you can't switch off console?
That's
right?
a really good point.
If you can turn right? It's not like two completely different resistors and capacitors. None of that. It's the same stuff. Why you can't switch off one? A resistor that have a 0603 footprint and they have a resistor that's a 1 kilo ohms, 10% tolerance. That is it. It's not one for the TV and one for the car radio and one for different for the studio. But here's what's happening. The people, when you follow the money, I always have to follow the money. The people who go, we're recapping your recapping the console. You heard that term before, right?
Yeah.
They'd have to take out all the old capacitors because you see what they do, right? They said this capacitor is good for, say, 20,000 hours at this temperature. So when you leave it on all the while, the only thing you do is you're accelerating the life cycle.
Yep.
Now the capacitor, if it's 100 microfarad, because you leave it on all the while for best result, then it might drift. It might be 50 microfarad, or it might be a little bit more. So if you have like say EQ, and you say you put it at 1K because the capacitance drift, it might be a little bit lower 1K or a little above 1K because they're all burning out, and they just follow this nonsense blind. That's what goes on here, especially in Hollywood.
So you think, and I think you're right about this, that repair techs started a myth that you have to keep your consoles on all the time so that they could keep a job, so they could get more work.
Job security.
Recapping the consoles.
Yeah. Look here, you heard what I said?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Go to buy, say, a 1K resistor. Here's what's important. If it's critical areas, right? Something is just critical areas, and you need metal film capacitor, you need a carbon resistor, or you need wire wound. If it's something like when we're building amplifiers, you don't want to use a carbon resistor because it's going to just burn out. So you would use a wire wound resistor because it's in a critical area. But if it's just a standard 10K resistor, like say on the input of the op amp and with the bypass resistor, say it's 10K, them set up the op amp as unity gain. Both the feedback resistor and the two input resistor is 10K, right? So it's unity gain, set up as unity gain. That's it. Did that one for the electronics for the studio, and again the same things in the fighter jets. You can switch off a 30 million fighter jet, but don't dare switch off a console. What?
I love that.
That's funny.
Guess what? You know the touring gear, like when they're going on tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
I dragging around. They switch them off every night, right?
Right.
Yeah, they don't ship them around with a UPS, so they'll stay on in the truck overnight.
Yeah.
Because here's what. We in Jamaica, we are the same kind of console. It's not one set of console that in America, and the next set that go to the Jamaica. It's the same thing. The needs, the API, the MCI is one, and guess what? We switch them off every night and never have a problem with them.
That was going to be my next question. So at night, when you were locking up at Channel One or Tubby's, would you turn all the
turn
gear
off
off?
the con-
Yeah.
Here, if you want us to hear go inside Tubby's ball head, let him come inside and see the equipment turn on, not using.
That's
They
funny.
burn out the parts. No. Switch them off at nighttime. Switch them off at nighttime. Oh, we all do it.
Hmm.
Everybody in Jamaica. There's no one in Jamaica that do it. I get one guy in the valley. Him keep saying him not making the money. And I said, well, half of your money that you profit going out and following and leaving on your console at night time, switch it off. That ain't gonna happen. So I raise the same point. You can switch off a 30 million jet, but you cannot day by day switch off a console.
I have a question for you, scientists. I've never asked. I was just thinking about this when you're talking about the architecture of these places. Like Channel One is like a store, right? And Tubby's is basically a house.
It was like his mom's house or something, right?
I don't know.
Yes, it was his mom house. It was the way they call it, the poorest studio compared to Channel One, but it was his mom house. Yeah.
Yeah. But my question is, how much did the architecture affect the sound, in your opinion? Because you're
Well,
the person that's traveled between these things. Like, can you kind of compare and contrast?
Big time. What I find here going on in Hollywood is there is no studio that was built from the ground up as a studio. Most of them was an office building. They have plywood for partition, and that affects the sound because you see the wood doesn't have enough mass, right? And when you hit the wall, you can't hear it. Yeah, you know what the effect going to be if you hit a wooden wall versus you hit a concrete wall. Most of the
Yeah.
studios here is not like that, so that's a big drawback. Most of the studios is we call it is plywood. So what happens? The sound dissipates out through the walls into the other areas. So instead of the sound stay contained inside the studio, it dissipates in the wall. That causes you to now push the speaker more because it's leaking. We call that leaking. It dissipating through the wall. But Channel One, as I tell you, because I work in studios all over the world, that was a really, really well built studio.
Hmm.
When you're talking about headroom, and again, is a thing that I find a common practice that I find around here. Most of these studios they lack in headroom. So to get a reasonable, good sound, comfortable sound, you find you have to drive the console too much.
Do you think Channel One was the best Jamaican studio back then?
Well, you had other studio like the where Bob Marley's now, like Federal. That was a solid building,
Hmm.
solid as it can get.
Hmm.
In Kingston at that time, yes, up at 56 Oak Road, it was the same situation as described. Um, the house was a wooden house, so you could stay from in the control room and wherever the musicians are, you could hear bleed, you could hear the speakers playing.
Hmm.
Channel One didn't have that system because it was solid concrete. It had enough mass that when you're blasting inside the control room, you go inside the studio, you're not hearing it.
Hmm. Wow.
Was the building that Channel One was in, was it built to be a recording studio, or was it used for something else prior?
No, not like most of these studios. It was built from day one with studio in mind.
Oh wow. Wow.
Wow.
And then I know before Tubby passed, he was in the process of building a new studio on
Yeah.
his property. Did you ever get to see that? Because I know it was in progress for like many years. Did you ever get to
I
see that?
It's a shame he never get to finish it.
Yeah. Yeah, he had bought a new console that was getting shipped right before he died. I think I read someone was like in Tennessee buying it for him or something. So what was that going to be? Was that imagined to be like a tracking studio?
A full studio,
Oh wow.
just like it would have been the competition to Channel One at yesterday.
Wow. Wow. So he was trying to enter into that realm that kind of Channel One was in, and all the other big studios wanted to start like tracking
Yeah,
everybody.
he's tracking everybody. Yeah, but
Yeah.
he
As well as, wasn't he getting into? He wanted to buy like a record press too, because I know he had the. I know you guys had the dub machine to cut dubs, which was really unique and basically started dub. But also, wasn't he trying? He pretty much wanted to do everything in house.
not really, because we had talks about that and we concluded.
Okay.
You can't try to be in every year because it's a massive operation. You have to
Right.
have steam and this, that, crap.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
One thing, and let other people who in that industry, let them continue and we'll stick to that. But the climate in Jamaica, I'd moved on before all of that.
I see.
Would you categorize your time in Jamaica, the general vibe of things, doing business, politics, all this? Was it generally cooperative, or was it competitive?
A bunch of it was competition because when I just started working at Channel One, or even because I was working at Studio One, and I was between Tubby's and Studio One, but Coxon looked like Tubby sent you around here to spy.
Oh,
Wow.
That's what they thought when you started working at other studios. Was
Yeah,
that you were Tubby's little
spy.
spy?
Yeah, Channel One the same thing, but what didn't fit and make any logical sense. Okay, Tubby sent me around here to spy, but yet still I build this, I improved the studio.
Hmm.
Instead of sabotaging it, the spies sabotage. Spies doesn't make it better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What's the opposite of sabotage?
Yeah.
What is the word for that?
Yeah.
Did Tubby also sort of see you working elsewhere in a competitive light or in a negative light in some way, or was he different than how Coxon would respond?
When I was working between Tubby's and Channel and Studio One, he never expressed that, but Coxon definitely expressed that to me.
Mm.
What I find is like you can't play for two football teams at the same time. You have to either have to go with Lakers or what the next one name, the Dodgers. So it's okay.
Yeah.
But Tubby's built amplifier and they do electronics. So you know what? Plus, Mr. Coxon was very stubborn, didn't want to, the upkeep of the machine was just keep going down and down.
Yeah. Did you like working at Tubby's? Was that because I know it was in a house. It was basically in like a back bedroom. It was like did you like working in that environment, or was it kind of tough?
I would. It's a kind of a bittersweet because I
Mm.
leave from uptown. I don't know if you've been to Jamaica. When I leave my house, it was mostly upper middle class. I come out of my house and the beach is over there, and I find myself in the worst ghetto in Jamaica, water house.
Mm.
Even though no one from around here never caused me no harm. But when I look back, how much years later, I find I was playing Russian roulette with my life
Wow.
because the characters and what went on in the area. And when you're a kid, you feel hype when you tell your friends and from Harvard, oh, I've been to Waterhouse, I'm working around here. What? You going around here? Oh, you crazy.
Hmm.
You kind of feel hype, but it's a bittersweet taste. And then what I like about it, I was the one running the studio, so
Mm.
I'll even go as far as when I like. If that would develop at Coxon, well, Mr. Dad didn't really trust anyone. It would have probably take decades. He started was to trust me a little bit by leaving me there while he run downtown to go to Tenties out of the but would Mr. Dad ever give anyone the keys to the studio?
Mm.
Wow.
Channel One had a kind of similar thing where I could have put Godier and Zebby would just open up the studio because he was there, live on premises. He would just open the studio and let us do what we have to do and leave. But Tubby's, I was my own boss. I was collecting the money, calling all the shots.
So you had a lot of autonomy when you were working at Tubby's. He wasn't all in your hair, in your business, trying to micromanage you or anything like that. He just let you do your thing.
He was not there half of the time. He only come for like 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. I would put a coil of money in his hand, and by the time I look through the TV, he's pulling out, hey, he gone.
Mm.
Was that a common thing for a young guy from your neighborhood, from the upper middle class part of Kingston, to be spending time in places like Waterhouse, rougher neighborhoods, or was that sort of a really rare, unique thing that you were doing?
Let me give you a story. One time I didn't feel to go to the studio, so Tubby spent Big Youth from me. All right? And Big Youth from me, I don't know if you know S90. You could Google it. You know the song named S90 Skanked?
I don't know if I know
I'm gonna
that
look
one.
it up.
Oh yeah, we'll look it up.
So about 50 motorcycles come from me. That album. So I was like 16, 17. So the people in that neighborhood, they never see that type of people come around here with dreadlocks. And me, like a 16-year-old, jump on the back of a bike, like I'm in some bike gang.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
don't let your kid talk to him. He's going to that bad place, Waterhouse gang. Yeah, I was into know them gang. I was never in any gang.
Right.
So don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. Don't let the kid talk to him. He'll carry him. But you have the 1 and 2 kids now, them just like the hype of it and would come to the studio. Like my friend Michael Clark and Mackie, they would come around here and they would enjoy themselves. But I was not in any gang.
Right.
So other people were afraid of you because you hung out in Waterhouse?
Well, Tubby's sound system caused him to have a bad reputation. Because
why?
Because before the police destroyed it,
Right,
used
the police like shot it. They put a bullet in the amplifier, right? At one point.
You heard about it, right?
Yeah, I've heard about this. I've heard this that story.
Back them time there, when the police want to find a wanted man, they just do what Tubby's does.
I see.
So if they wanted to find the gangsters, they'd go to a Tubby hi-fi show, basically.
Yeah.
So the bad reputation because of the kinds of people who would be at Tubby's dance.
So when you look in the newspaper, King Tubby was playing in St. Thomas, and you see how much what them call it chalice ganja pipe, and how much back them time police used to cut off your dreads with knife and
Whoa.
a barrel full of locks and all this ganja pipe and all this weed and ratchet knives were found at King Tubby's dance. So it became a nuisance.
Yeah.
So once the police them decide, you know what, no more. The last time he was playing near a shoes factory, and some guys robbed shoes factory. They came to the dance, so you have this policeman Trinity came there that heard about the robbery. So in kind of, okay, let's 2 and 2, let's go check out the dance. Trinity said, all who have any Clarks tonight going to jail. Right? And everybody who stole them, broke into the shoes and stole the Clark is barefooted all of a sudden. So Trinity switched and said, all who barefooted going to jail.
Wow.
What was it about Tubby that had his dance be the one where all the roughest guys hung out? Why was it his?
Well, his was the best.
He had a very good, clean sounding sound system. Nice, fat, heavy, right? With heavy bass. And outside of that, what else could cause it? Well, the type of neighborhood that he come from is all gringos. So wherever Tubby's going, with the association of URI, then his neighborhood didn't come from is all And I said, none of these guys, as bad as they were, as notorious as they were, not one person ever raised their voice to me, talk to me in a disrespectful way. Not one of them.
Wow.
So because of that, it harbored a certain caliber of people. Jamaica, people might see now seen in America the privilege that Rasta people have, and everybody think it's one. No, it wasn't like that in Jamaica. Your parents would put you out the road. It was like a scorn. It was like a disgrace. Low society. People turn Rasta.
Right.
You're
So
like your family might disown you, kind of
your
thing.
family would disown you.
Wow.
Your family would disown you. So it was a culture that was looked down on. So those are the people would come to Tubby's. Not all of them is into gang activity, but a lot of the gang. Like I think one that used to follow it was the pigeon gang, and then when both sides meet up inside there, and then again a lot of shooting took and stabbings took place in that dance. Because you see, one side of the opposing gang might hear something kick off, and by the time you know it, something bad happened. So because of that, it became a nuisance. So the police decided one night, all right, since you all robbed the shoe store, which had nothing to do with Tubby's.
Yeah, was that something that like concerned Tubby, or that he like didn't like
Well,
that there was so much violence happening at his dance?
he was not in the dance. He would just come, string up, and leave.
Right. He would just
Oh,
set up the speakers, and then it would be like you, Roy, or somebody would
I, Roy, our
I
mom.
Roy, yeah, would host the dance.
Yeah, but
and so they're running the system.
Yeah.
no, he
I see.
wasn't there smoking, drink. He don't even smoke. He's a very conservative guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would set up the sound system and then leave. But it doesn't make any matter. The difference is your sound system as your name for
Right.
whatever. I can't really say this is the reason why they all came.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's some like dispute online about after his sound system was destroyed whether or not he ever rebuilt it. Do you know? Do you have any insight on that? Did he ever try to build it back up again or no?
Right. I wasn't working with him at that time. I joined him right a little before,
Hmm.
and I encouraged him, Tubbies, let's build back the sound system and let's take the console into the dance. And him saying no. Well, like what is you doing now at these shows with the console.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I had that in vision. Like you was at the show that I did at the lodge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We were there. Yeah.
And Toby's look at me with what? Nope, that
Wow.
not.
So you
Why
had
didn't he want to do it? Just too much effort to move all that stuff.
That I look back, right? You'd have to strip down the entire studio to
right.
carry a console in there. You'd have to carry two tape machines.
Yeah, yeah.
Like now,
But
you can walk with your laptop.
so
Yeah,
you
he
so
can't
you
just load
actually
his session on a thumb drive and
right.
plug it into that board. Yeah.
So you actually pitched him on let's set up a sound system with a console and do live dubs.
With the same console, so we can mix live in the dance hall.
Oh my god. That would have been unbelievable.
It would have been unbelievable. But knowing what happened back then with the type of people come, you would be just inviting the police again. Which
Right, right.
Mm.
They would have
I'm-
put a bullet in the MCI.
Yeah, in America, give what's due to Caesar. In America, I doubt if the police would do that because it would be destructive. They could seize it, but they're not going to go with a baton and guns and shoot the speaker boxes and just destroy it.
Right.
Because that's what used to happen. That's why the police got tired of it.
Right.
This one got shot, this one got stabbed, this one got lose them life. Over nonsense.
Wow.
So and then because of that, no, that Tubbies wasn't involved. Everybody just assumed that he was there and it had something. No, he was just a businessman.
Right.
Somebody was to rent the sound system.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fine. You can rent it. You want you right to come because guess what? You had a lot of people, right, Um, Sometimes they get money from each. Everybody, 5 people put up together, and they put on a dance. It was
Right.
like they get to make some money.
Right. And
Right.
Tubby would just rent them the sound system,
But
basically.
the sound system, he has
Yeah.
nothing to do with anything else. You do. Okay, you want to run it, it costs
Right.
extra. Or you want your ride, well, you have to pay this extra. And here
Yeah.
goes the system.
It's
So
just it's
he
crazy
was
to think because that must have been a big part of his business. I imagine he made a lot of money from that. So I can't. It's hard to believe he didn't build it. He never built it back up. Then you're saying.
no, because of the stigma and the bad name that was attached to it, and what's going to happen with Jamaican police. Oh, you want to dare us? So next
Mm,
time we'll just shoot whoever
right.
operates the sound
Right.
system.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it was too much to digest. When I said they mashed it up, they mashed it up because I got a chance to look at one of the amplifiers them.
Wow.
And wow,
Like to send a message.
yeah, them say, but again, in America, that would have never happened. The police would have
Right.
stopped it.
You
But
would have got a ticket or something or something stupid.
as far as them destroying the property like that, I get
Wow.
that could be in a newsstand or
Yeah.
uh, you'd have too much legal life because you could have turned on and sued the police to destroy the property. If I rent my sound system, I'm not here. I'm not responsible for what these people. Imagine if somebody got the what is SIR in Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they want to rent a sound system and some hoodlum rent the sound system and
Yeah.
then put on a genre of music that invite all the bad people to come out in LA. It's not SIR responsible for that. He can't go and damage SIR property. You'd
Right.
have a big lawsuit.
Didn't
But
speaking of lawsuit, didn't he try to sue the police for that too, for like unlawful property damage or something?
I heard something like that happen, but you know, in everywhere in the world, good luck suing the police.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Did you ever have any trouble with the police, like hanging around Watertown all the time? Did they ever mistake you for a gangster, a hoodlum, or something?
I was lucky that I was in the right place at the right time.
Mm, yeah,
Never
yeah,
had any problem with any of that.
that's good.
Because with me around there, even though you have guys there, I know what y'all doing, but you have a saying in Jamaica, see and blind, hear and deaf. I don't want whatever I see you doing, I act like I don't see. And
Mm,
then after a while, everybody know and see and watch you and know that you want to come off the bus by where Blackpool used to live. And you walk along your business and you go to the studio, you're not involved. They know that. They the people who live in the neighborhood, they know that. Then I see you try to hang out, sit down on the corner, smoke with anybody, anything like that. So
mm,
half the time the police know who they're going after.
right, right.
Then they
They
know.
knew you guys were just a bunch of artists that were hanging around and
Yeah, yes, they pretty much know. They usually the police 9 out of 10 times they know it's not random.
mm.
What used to happen around here though, when they know who they're coming for, you will see a hearse. And you see the police car driving behind the
Oh my
hearse.
Oh
God.
my God.
You say, "Oh God, somebody gonna get it now."
Wow. Yeah, this
So
is this
the
this is
hearse would follow the police, just waiting to pick up who they kill.
Yeah,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
this is something we've been kind of trying to emphasize on our show, that I think that unfortunately a lot of Americans don't understand about reggae and about Jamaica, or maybe they've heard it but they don't internalize it fully, which is that
but
it was a really
Yeah.
scary place you guys were in. It was really, really dangerous back then. I
what
think.
worse now, it got worse because here's what music is a very influential thing. And part of the reason why Jamaica becomes so violent is because what coming out of some of these artists' mouth,
Mm,
right, where them influence people the wrong way.
mm,
I 10 times worse because everybody who wants to make themselves look good in the public eye is now a producer,
mm,
right? It was bad back then, but it got 10 times worse. And when I see it happen, after I heard what they did to Peter Touch,
Mm.
they after they shot Bob Marley, I heard what they did to Peter Touch. The same people who you see every day and you hanging out with them. I see. I told Tubbies about himself. It cannot be like clockwork. Everybody know count 1, 2, 3, 9 o'clock you come here. You can't do that.
Mm.
Sometimes stop somewhere, do something, mix up the schedule.
Right.
So
Don't make sure you're not predictable. Don't let them know when you're gonna come home.
Damn.
yeah, and it's a very bad thing. Was very hurtful because as far as I know him, he own a business about his business. He's not a person that's still gossip, smoke, or
Right.
anything about Japanese people. He mostly mind his business.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't super political. He wasn't right. He just
Yeah,
was a
not trying to
businessman.
make some statement,
Yeah.
not trying to take some side on any issue.
Yeah, he wasn't like Rasta. He didn't smoke. That's what always confused me about what happened to him. Do you have any like theories or guesses on like what happened to him and why that happened?
I wasn't here when it happened. I was living
Right.
already in the United States because I saw it coming.
Yeah.
When I saw what happened to Bob Marley, okay, they can do this to Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. Well, they will do it to anybody.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I get up one day, and then the type of people that surrounded the music business there, you going to be my friend whether you like it, yes or no.
Mm.
You can't get rid of them. If you get rid of them, they think you're fighting against them. So
Mm.
you just condone them. And these people just come to the studio randomly, watching you, knowing every move, and know
Mm.
you're gonna put the studio at 12 o'clock, and by 12:30, so they all come, and this one might come, and this one want this one want that, and that's why Bob got fed up and left Jamaica one at a time. So I find the same thing was reaching me when I work at Tuff. My son wanted shoes, and I'm screaming, I didn't know I was a baby father.
Mm.
And you give them one time, then they're coming back and they get on the payroll. Your payroll. And you never know who's at the because everybody's mixed up and condensed into one. So I saw that. You
Mm.
know what? I was supposed to come to the United States when I was 5 years old with my sister.
Mm.
So I show up with a U.S. immigration officer. Them time it was different. That wouldn't have worked. With the same papers that was filed 25 years. And they laughed at me.
Wait, so you arrived and your they let your sister in and they turned you away?
No. My
No.
sister, when I was supposed to come to leave and come to America, my sister them was really young. Were really young. My
Mm.
mother had filed to get all of us, but I didn't want to leave. Want to stay with my grandmother. Wouldn't let go my grandmother, so my mother just let me stay, and that's why I wouldn't become the person that I is now. I wouldn't get to learn that side if I'd grown
Mm.
up in America. To be honest, there's no way.
Mm.
So
What
stayed.
what what are the lessons that you take from that? You know, that fact that you didn't grow up in the United States, you grew up there. Like, what are those valuable things that you?
Well, I wouldn't get to work with the legendary musicians. I wouldn't get to learn about dub.
Mm.
I probably would have the same influence, but I could say I was actually there.
Right.
I wouldn't get that part of it. But after things got the way it got in Kingston with the good, bad, and the ugly, I don't know, we know. One day I just got to the U.S. embassy with the same old papers that my mother had originally filed for me.
Wow.
So the immigration officer said, "Son, you realize that these papers is 25 years old?"
It
Wow.
says here that you're 5 years old. Hmm.
Whoops.
So
Interesting.
he said to me, what's your mother name? Where does she work? And corroborated everything I tell him. He picked up the phone, blah, 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 blah. And yes, this, that, yeah. Okay, man, son, have a good day. And everybody couldn't believe it. Prior to that, I had visited America when I was on tour with Jamaica, but nobody didn't believe it. I was the only one. But with 20, get a green card with 25 years. That was like 25 years. No, you couldn't do that. You
Mm.
missed the deadline, then you'd have to start all over again. So when things got weird, got in Jamaica, I came to the Jamaica with just my clothes and my wallet, and I gave away to put
Mm.
the situation anymore. So I lived in Washington D.C. and thank God for America because I could just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
In your opinion, who are there someone who like really, really, really was very influential and had a big hand in why these records sounded the way that they did? Really had a big hand in the quality, the fidelity of just why these records are so good, who is not as well known, that doesn't never got that reputation, never got that recognition?
How to answer your question? Uh, Let me try and answer it this way. Yes, it was recorded. It's true, right? It had the best musicians at those time. So the musical composition is what also dictates the end product.
Mm.
And you could have the best musicians in the world, and if you don't have a good recording, worse if it's not mixed properly, then the diamond is going to be a shine. So it's a chain process, to be fair. It was recorded at a good studio, channeling,
Mm.
Yeah.
but I'm not sure who did it. Had the best musicians, the best company, the Dean Fraser, Flubber Hall, I think Santa Davis played and some other. So by the time it reached me now to polish the diamond,
Yeah.
right? So just imagine somebody somewhere and they find a diamond. Well, the only time the brilliance of the diamond comes out is when you carry it to the final step, which
When you
is
polish it.
Yeah. That's true.
to bring out to make everything shine. Because a mix can make or break a song.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think you're so spot on, because we were talking about this earlier this week about how the music's great on these records, the performances are amazing, the songs are great, but there's just this extra layer of depth that comes through from your mixing and your super creative use of like bringing elements of like dub mixing into a final song mix, that really just like puts this stuff like over the top in terms of like quality.
Yes, because you see a mix. Like when I mix, what that band name again, Brian, that
Hmm.
Oh, you're talking about the
Hepcat.
Hepcat stuff.
Oh,
It was
Hepcat.
Yeah,
Hepcat.
Oh,
Greg
wow.
Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hepcat. All right. As gone to the guitar player, he said he heard things that he didn't know was on the record.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
And what caused that? The mixing.
Yeah.
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 Those guys can play because here's the misconception. Um, People think they're going to a studio with all the bells and the whistles, and wish I see it happen with this guy. He own a car company. He have this girl. If you give her $1 billion, and people think that, well, don't understand that these things are God-given talent and gift. No
Hmm.
one can be this. Somebody can point you in a certain direction, but you already have to have it into you. And it's not something that money can buy.
Right.
Because you're a billionaire, you can go to some music school and somebody can train you to sing like Aretha Franklin. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be born with it.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of the time.
So those guys was good. So the common mistake is, okay, you go into all the studio, the bells and whistles, but your players can't play.
Hmm.
He's fighting the drum. I can't get good sound, right sound. How you make his drum sound like that? Santa drum sound like that, and it's the same drum in that the believe is. Well, your drummer can't play like Santa.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can. I can make little nonsense sound like a player. right? But it's not going to be as good as when real
Yeah.
music and people know to play. So the most frustrating thing to me, right, is to have all the equipment in the world and have players that can't play. But
Mm.
I can't do nothing much with it. So the point is, those guys from Hepcap, they could play good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They could.
they could.
So I substituted for Brian the one time, and I was your assistant running Pro Tools with you when you did the Sublime stuff, and I noticed that it seemed like your standard workflow is first you do a straight mix, then you do a mix of the song without taking away the vocals that has dub elements, and then a full dub, right?
Yes. Me and Brian call it the White House mix. The first one is just
The White House mix.
For Obama to listen to.
For Obama.
The mix for
Listen to.
Obama. Okay, yeah.
Nice.
we call that one the White House mix. A straight mix just to be able to sing and perform it, or the music perform it.
Mhm.
Then we do a dub vocal mix and with a straight dub.
And so, did you have that same workflow of doing it the three mixes in a row like that all the way back? Like for example, when you're mixing Firehouse Rock, did you do that the same way?
Well,
Mix the song 3 times?
no.
Hmm.
Most of them is two mixes where depend on the song. Because some song a dub element it doesn't fit the song.
Hmm.
So if it's a song like that, then we just do a straight White House mix, and then we do a version. And the reason for why most of these songs are version because the DJs that's playing it in the dance have something to perform to.
Yeah.
That's why wow first. So well, it depends on the song. Like what Files Rock, it's usually two songs. Because
Okay,
again,
2.
when people book studio time in Jamaica, they'll book 3 hours studio time. You have to record, you have to do vocals, and you have to mix all in 3 hours.
Hmm.
And most of them, some of them didn't have the money. So when you're doing a third mix, is like it's using up more tape, which some of them do have the money to buy.
Do you remember like how long it would take you to mix an album like that, like Firehouse Rock or maybe or any of the other ones from around that time period?
Yeah,
Like
that's a good
how
question.
long would you work on it for? Would it be a day? Would it be a weekend?
Couple hours,
Couple of, say that
yeah.
one more time.
around 3-4 hours.
Wow.
Whole record in 3 or 4 hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Two mixes of each song.
again, but Brian seen me do it there before many times. We did up to 20 something mixes. But again, you have to remember most of these producers were just starting up. Um, they didn't really have the type of money that they end up with. So somebody booked 3 hours studio time. That's what they expected to get. Look here, a song only lasts 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes is an average song, so how much time you can fit 3 minutes into a song. So once we get the first setup, then everything else is just print to tape right
Right.
after.
Right.
And then so for the records, for the LPs that are straight dub albums under your name as an artist, are those then now new mixes that you do or that you did for those records, or were those just someone going back and collecting all the various versions that you had done on different days already and putting them together on a record?
It's counterproductive to come back a second day.
Mm-hmm.
While you have the balance and levels of your internet one right away, that is more cost effective to the producer. And as I said, they want the MCs in the dance hall, they need a version that they can perform to. So just do it while we have the levels and everything going on the setup. So with that, and what Brian's seen, that has been with Sublime and everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So then the dub the version that like of the song Firehouse Rock, for example, that is on Rids the World, that was mixed like a few minutes after the album version was mixed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then somebody came through and just compiled all your dubs and put it into a record.
Yes, yes. No one goes into the studio in Jamaica just to mix a dub.
Right.
No one does it. That's counterproductive. Yes, so no one goes in the studio just to mix it.
Yeah, I see. Do you have a like a favorite of any of these records from this time period that you mixed or worked on?
Yeah. What's your favorite? What's the best one?
What's according to scientists, what is the best one? Because we love Firehouse Rock. I really love Day to Day Living, Don Carlos. I know you worked a little on that one. Michael Prophet, Gunman, I love. What is your favorite from this time period?
None of them is really a favorite. I can't just a job to do. Yes, some of it is deja vu.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a good way and in a bad way, because some of the people who attach themselves to the music business, it
Yeah.
wasn't the best caliber of people that he had was to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's no favorite. It's just a job.
I see.
And imagine looking at it this way: you run a dry cleaning place, right?
What was your favorite shirt?
What was your favorite shirt you washed at the dry cleaner? Yeah. I could see how you feel that way.
I like pressing these pants better. You have to press all the pants them good so the customer can feel happy.
Oh man.
Yeah, again, it goes back to that. It goes back to the volume thing, like what people don't realize about the volume of material that was being made. Like, it's kind of mind-boggling how much content is on Instagram from people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big Instagram people, but Jamaica was even bigger than that.
Yeah, it was
think
crazier.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from me, anybody can do a simple match. So, a day's work would compile of about 4 songs, right? So if you do 4 times 7, that's what? 28
Mm-hmm.
times 4 weeks. That's what? However that may be.
It's like
Right.
115, something like that.
Actually, 115 times what?
12.
Times what? That's a month. So times 12, that's what?
It's like 1,200, 1,300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times how much? 40 years. I can say I just finished mixing 2 songs.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So that gives you a rough idea. And that's just being conservative. For some, let's say you're doing 10. Some days you might do a little less, 3, 4, but that's a real average in the middle.
Yeah.
And so that gives you an idea about how much music I mixed. And I could say,
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. Like if you've mixed 40 things, you may have a favorite, but if you've mixed 40,000 things,
True.
maybe not.
Yeah.
yes, it's like a man having 40,000 kids and you asking him to show up. You might know all 40,000 of them.
What about this question? I know that in Jamaica, when it came to like credits around that time period, things can get really murky. And I know, like, for instance, Tubby, he stopped dubbing behind the console around what, like 75, 76 was like the last time he actually the last time he was dubbing regularly. But he still continued to get credit for so many dub mixes that I'm sure was either you or Jammy or one of his other assistants. Is there a record or a particular dub that you did that you didn't get credit for back then, that you wish kind of people knew about more?
Well, I can tell the last song I saw Tubby's mix was Balloon or Baba Saloon with Mikey Drill.
Yeah.
That was the last song I seen. If you look on what makes sense, none of these records existed at the time Tubby's died, right?
Right. Yeah.
Why not put them out when he was alive?
Yep. I think that's a really good point. Why all of a sudden have all these dub albums come out after he passed away and not when he was around?
Yes, is I mix them.
Like, okay,
Like,
for instance,
for
I
example, Dangerous dub.
I was just gonna say this. That is one of my favorite dub albums ever. I told Brandon about this. I've written a blog about it. I've maintained for years this is one of my favorite dub albums ever made. I love it.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And I do, and I, it says Tubby on the front, and I, do a little more research and digging around, and it sounds like that was something you mixed.
Well, look at what makes sense again. I remember we said we don't do A side and come back years later on the B side.
Right.
Brian, remember you were showing me one time how to get like two copies of the record, the A side and the B side, and you could put them. I forget how you could identify that. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, when we would line them up and phase align them and then reverse it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and if you track down one of the original record, right? The original record, it will say I mixed it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the original records were records you mixed,
and it right afterwards.
So it wouldn't, like you just said, it wouldn't make sense to go back years later and do a dub. Nobody would do that because it didn't make sense.
And then most importantly, why after I start having problems with green sleeves and took them into court and all of that, it makes more sense for them to say, hey, this guy and then let's just write off Tubby's name.
Right.
So that's what's going on. Half of these, Tubby's only had 3 dub albums.
Right.
Roots of Dub, that was a great influence to me. Radics was on the next one of them. That he bear as the name. A bunch of them, yes, it's 45 that he mixed and then compile it there and call it what I call it, but 90% of them is I mixed them. But again, that's the type of business people who harbor around the music business. Cockroaches who just use the music business to make themselves look like them somebody, when in fact them doing other things.
Right.
Can you say the titles of the 3 that he mixed again? He said Roots of Dub,
and what were the other ones? Shalom Dub, right?
Shalom Dub and Brass Rockers, those.
Yeah,
and then those came out when he was alive, right?
Yeah, so Shalom Dub and then Brass Rockers was one with like Tommy McCook, I think.
Tommy McCook, and all those records came out when he was alive. So now, how much years later, 30-something years later, this one coming, all of that. It's not like say it's one, it's all this flood. Right? So was all these producers sitting down waiting for him to pass? How ridiculous that's going. Why not put them out when the man is alive?
Right. And there's like 200 Tubby albums or something. It's ridiculous.
Bunny Lee clarified that, Bunny Lee, when asked by Silver Camera about Tubby's with these 200, Dr. Bunny Lee said, no, not Tubby's. Tubby's only had these 3 rock albums.
Yeah.
The rest of them is mine.
Yeah.
And you don't have to listen to what I say. You have to look at what makes sense.
Yeah.
You can tell that it's like having Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley singing. What? You can have Bonnie Whale and Bob Marley. You can tell the 2 different people.
Yeah.
Even though both of them doing reggae.
Right.
So I got fed up of all of that. I got fed up with all of that. They used to have whenever I come with a new way of doing things, I don't want to put anybody on the shopping block, but what they would do, they would bring a new piece of equipment. So to give the illusion is a new piece of equipment while the studio or something like that. But the problem that they found themselves into is that even though the new piece of equipment in there, when other people use it, is not the same. And that when that equipment, with that equipment there, yes, I can still do the same thing. So that was going on, and then I can't say the most comfortable place of work when I was in Jamaica was at Bob Marley studio, because one, it was in the upper class neighborhood, right in front, right next to the governor house.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more chill. You didn't have the riffraff, because between Tubby's and Channel One is like yours in the gun belt.
Yeah.
The gun belt.
The gun
The
belt.
gun belt.
Brian,
And
what were you
that's-
gonna say? You were gonna say something about Greensleeves or something, Brian?
Oh, they're the worst. I mean, the
Right.
thievery that is just described here. Scientists
Yes.
is being polite, but
Yeah.
it's straight thievery.
What?
You know,
We're
Greensleeves, how terrible they are as people and
Yeah.
as a company.
yeah.
Yes, it's become systematic, but again, the people who cause it, Okay, Brian,
Yeah.
I asked you to drive me the dub robot, right?
Hmm.
And I said, Brian, stop in front of this bank.
Yeah.
You see me stop in front of the bank, you see me put on a mask and grab a gun and grab a bag. In your head, what I'm going to do?
You're going to go rob that bank.
Yeah.
Bank. Okay,
Yeah.
so you know who to blame with a lot of these things, because the same thing we see with Max Rome and Universal Record. The friggin' crooked criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
What? The police have the crook. He's on tape, his DNA, everything, and then you'll have the lawyer go and put up this big dance in front of the judge, trying to get his client free. All evidence is there that your client is a criminal, but they let the lawyer, just because he wants to say, I won the case, he'll put the criminal back on the street. So the lawyers, them who representing these criminal record companies, they know very well that the record company is guilty. Why not just tell them to settle the case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I've maintained for a long time, and Brandon and I have talked about this too, like even what they did to your old dub albums is such a crime. Like the fact that they now say Junjo presents, such and such record, drives me crazy every time I see those at the record store. It's awful.
Well, what I did, I just put back out everything with my name on it. And
Yeah.
account support that. We will explain to the judge how you all brought criminal jammies into the federal court building to tell lies. And then
Yeah.
you have one man threatening people that when they come to America, they're going to be killing people if we don't stop the lawsuits. Again, the criminal lawyers is what allowing these record companies. Look here, Max Roma is going through the same thing before he died. He couldn't get to collect the money. Universal violated his copyright, and instead of the criminal lawyer tell Universal, look here, you're in the wrong, settle the case.
Right.
They would just drag it out, hoping that Max Romeo side run out of money, and then they get to say, I'm a good lawyer, I won, like it's some goddamn football match.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have infinite money. They can do it they can wait out Max Romeo until he passes away or something.
Yes, and then you have judges who presiding over cases that them don't know nothing about. They have spigot in them head for brains. What?
Yeah.
So the legal system is messed up. Is seriously messed up and need overhauling.
Yeah.
Remember, an officer, a lawyer is an officer of the court. And when it comes with the part of the bar rules, rule 3, when the lawyer comes to know that his client is committing a crime, he has certain ethical duties that he's supposed to do. But no, I'm a good lawyer because I won the case like it's some goddamn football match. When you just aided and abetted, you know that your client is wrong. You know, different from me and Brian driving and Brian to me put on a gun and a mask. What? If Brian wait for me and the police hold on me later, oh, Brian, he assisted him.
Right.
So how comes it any different when the lawyer assisted their client?
Yeah.
It should be the same punishment. So when them start punishing these lawyers, you have to know and why you never did. We don't see any sign of evidence. You take, you have a certain, the lawyers have certain options. The lawyer can say, look here, I'm not checking this case. Your fingerprint is all over this weapon. I'm not taking this. No, 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 no. But what? Money, 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 money,
Money.
money, money. And
Right.
then the police catch the friggin' crook committing the crime. His DNA, he's on everything. You can't hide witnesses, DNA, photograph, everything. But yet the lawyer, the criminal lawyer, will go in front of the judge and put up a dance
Mm.
in front of the courtroom with his $1,000 suit, talking about his client. What?
I say we start a write-in campaign, scientist for governor. I'd vote for
Yeah,
you.
will you please be the governor of California?
I wouldn't put in that thing because first of all, look here, I see them putting up a bridge, right? It take them 2 years. Why or more? Because the bidding of the contractor. So somebody buddy with this contractor that is getting a $10,000 a day to have him crane park there and paying people by the hour. Of course, if you call the gardener to cut your lawn, and paying him by the hour, he going to take all the week to cut your lawn.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Nonsense. And then guess at who expense? Me, Brian, and you all expense. And these governors and these politicians can't explain if you're only making X amount. How you end up with all these millions of dollars in your bank account? Everybody else would be audited by the IRS. So this is what going on here is why things just slowly falling apart. And part of the mission of reggae music was to expose this corruption that goes on all over the world with
Yeah.
any named politician. And again, I don't want to bash guys that wear suits and tie. I want to say some. But some of these guys you see dress up in suit and tie, don't let that suit and tie fool you. That is just that this guy that you're dealing with a crook.
Yeah.
Were you conscious of this when you know when you were a young guy mixing these records in '81? Were you like paying attention to and thinking about like this you know what sort of message these records were putting out into the world and you were behind it at that time, or was that just not something that you were really paying attention to at the time, just mixing whatever's in front of you?
You had was to pay attention because you hear in the words, and after a while you start looking around. And the sound systems like King Tubby was the voice of the people. Again, mainstream radio ain't gonna be singing like what's the name of that song? Junior Bell, Beat Down Babylon. They
Right.
did that on the radio.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna
You
have
could
that.
only hear that in the sound system.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bonded that type of music on the radio.
Right.
So again, it's going back to a set of politicians, right? It's going back to a set of lawyers, the type that you see dressed up in jacket and tie every day. I'm not saying that decent people don't dress up in jacket and tie, but I'm extremely cautious when I see somebody put on this suit, this uniform.
Yeah. What do you think's worse, the American music industry business, or was the Jamaican music industry a little rougher?
Look here, you have some great American artists and musicians died paupers.
Yeah, it's true.
Again, the crooked lawyer who write up this piece of agreement that they signed, and just because he signed it, what? It's an unfair contract. You have a bunch of American artists who did that. So I think it's just a bad learned behavior.
Yeah.
Other people pick up who started first or who carried it on. It kind of doesn't matter. It's bad learned behavior.
Yeah.
Right as we're speaking, some young artists who they just like the glamour of the studio and the music business, some unscrupulous lawyer and the record company want to be taking advantage of them. What it should be, okay, you want this artist, a certain amount of money goes to him So he can just find legal counsel of his own that cannot be nowhere connected to you. If they find out that the record company, that the legal services is anywhere connected to you, then the contract is void. And let them go and seek a lawyer and for that who can look at the contract in their behalf. Because they just want to be like when people come to, I just want to do it for the love of, no, 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 no. It's not. This is not our business, music business. This could be your only hit. And you're going to be pissed off if you've signed and enter into agreement that you don't get any money. And these, like I see it happen to Junior Baez and a bunch of these other artists that die and they have to start GoFundMe to bury them.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yes, it's really, really, really bad, and the court system need to step up the game and start punishing some of these lawyers who helping them client, assisting them client in fraud.
I have learned a lot today. It's all about the console's power supply. If you want things to sound analog and warm, all you need is a low pass filter. Scientists mix dangerous dub.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
And scientist needs to be the governor of California.
Yeah, I agree.
These are the 4 things I learned today.
Scientist, you've given us way more than we thought we were going to get from you today. So we really appreciate it. You've gone kind of above and beyond for us today. So I think we're going to let you go. You've been so generous with your time, and we really appreciate it. Brandon and I, we grew up with Brian, and we love Brian, but we both also grew up with your music. So super honored to get to talk to you and to get to pick your brain about this stuff.
The opportunity that I can belch my frustration.
Of course. Hey, we can be your bullhorn anytime. You're welcome to come back anytime.
Finally, before you go.
Yeah.
When you hear anyone talking about he's larger than life, that is pure illiteracy. You could be the best singer, the best whoever, the best musician, but if you're a bad human being, makes all the difference in the world.
It's true.
So keep God into your life. There's nothing larger than life. And I'm thankful that God put us all on the wake-up list today. No one knows what's going to happen in the next second. So blessing to you all for having me here, so we can talk. Well, hopefully we do that again. By we talking, we enlightening people.
I think so. And you're it's so rare to be able to say that for me to be able to say that I get to have this conversation with someone who actually changed music. Like, you had such a huge footprint on music itself. Like, dub music is so important to so many people around the world, and you are such an integral part of it. So it's rare that in life you get to say you can have a conversation with someone like that. So we really appreciate your time and everything you've done for music, man.
Thank you very much, man. And Brian, we'll meet one day and take a picture with the new dub robot.
Yes. We're building it. I was at his house last weekend. We're starting work on it. We're getting there.
It is almost there.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
The new dub robot.
The new dub robot.
We
all right.
All right, man. Guys, everybody have a good time, and thank you for having me.
All right,
man. You're welcome. Thank you. Such a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah,
Talk
stay
with
safe.
you again soon.
Stay healthy.
Okay.
Have you had contact with his aunties yet? War with another planet? viewpoint, Professor, they're either suprahuman or subhuman.